Welcome to the latest edition of Real Talk. We're putting the real in real estate with some real conversations with some really good friends this afternoon. And so I'm excited for all of our viewers to turn in and to hear a little bit more about the exciting things we're doing here in the North Texas marketplace, specifically oriented around the MetroTex and Collin County area realtors merger conversation. And I've got three amazing guests. Of course, I've got my formidable co-host that joins me often. That's Justin Landon, MetroTex CEO. And then we've got Marvin Jolly, who is a former Texas Realtors chairman, also a past president of Collin County. And he's also joining us from the mountains, I believe. Is that true, Martin?
That's right. I'm on vacation, but looking forward to the conversation today. For sure.
No, we appreciate it. And of course, Russell Berry, he is also a past chairman of Texas Realtors and a wonderful addition to the past presidents of MetroTex. Thanks for joining us, Russell.
Thank you. I will say I wish I was on vacation, but I'm not. I just don't have a ring light in front of me, so you get the gist of this is who I am.
Yeah, we love that. You look great, Russell. So we're talking about the merger. There's been a lot of conjecture. You guys have been amazing leaders, and not just past leaders. You are continuing to lead the respective organizations that we're talking about merging. You're also amazing brokers in the marketplace and leaders in brokerage services. And so I think that's really important that you guys are really strong voices as to what we're talking about from the association level, from serving the individual marketplaces, as well as the agents, the layman member, and the brokers alike. And so we're going to dive into that a little bit. But first, I want to kind of start off with a real holistic thing. And that's, we're getting a lot of why now? What's the urgency? Why is this happening? And the one thing I do want to say is, I know Russell and Marvin, these aren't new conversations, right? These aren't new to the thing. And I think that's how long have we been percolating things like this as far as consolidation in our marketplace?
I would say at least 20 years.
Wow.
At least.
Yeah. I can agree with that, because ever since I've been in volunteering leadership and up the ladder, these conversations have gone on and on and on. And I'm just going to go out on the limb right now and just say it has never been the right time. It's never had the right people in place. It's never gone further than a discussion. And, for this to be happening right now, I can tell you, I am super excited. I am, I'm kind of the glass half full guy anyway. So I am only looking for the best of this and enjoy the fact that Marvin and I get to have part of this conversation to be able to answer questions and to help people along with this decision. But it is absolutely the right time right now, with the right people and the right will going on. I mean, we've seen this not happen before, but this is a good thing now.
We do. We have an amazing team on both sides, and I'll start with that. But Justin, kind of talk about what now from a holistic level in our industry. What are we seeing that's really increasing these conversations, and in some certain timeframes, like expediting them? But what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, when we look at what's happening in the real estate economy, particularly over the last, let's call it 15 years, 20 years, coming into the Great Recession of after the boom of 2006, 2007, you saw a tremendous decline in membership, across the board for every realtor association, every broker. People got out of the business. They got out of the business in droves. And that led to a lot of consolidation during that time period in 2008, 2009, 2010, and coming out of that recessionary period. But really, since 2012, if you look at the real estate marketplace, whether that's unit count, whether it's agent count, whether it's broker closed volume, I won't say broker profitability, but I will say closed volume. It's done this, right? It's been taken off like a rocket ship. The amount of closed volume, the number of units closed, and the number of agents in the marketplace has just grown exponentially. And so all of our organizations, whether that's brokerage, tech vendor, NAR, TR, Texas Realtors, MetroTex, CCAR, all of us have experienced that growth, and we've ridden that wave since 2012. And in fact, since 2020, most of our memberships have gone up by 50%, right? Because many people got into the business during COVID when they were sitting at home with nothing to do, and interest rates hit an all-time low, and everybody's like, well, hell, I got to do this, right? And everybody jumped in. And so we have been able to launch more services, more products for our members based on that growth. And we've extended our reach, right? We've gone from maybe having one location to having multiple locations. We've added staff, we've added function. But that growth has started to slow. And not only has it started to slow, it's starting to go the other direction. And actually, we're seeing a retraction, right? Units are down. Agent count is down. More people are getting out of the business than are getting into the business for the first time in memory, right? Other than that recessionary period in 2008, 2009. And so that's putting pressure on the entire industry. And so we're seeing organizations at the brokerage level consolidating. We're seeing tech space consolidating. We're seeing companies like Stone Point Capital acquire Lone Wolf, and then acquire Keller Williams, and then acquire the other thing that they acquired that I can't remember. And then you've got, ICE that's acquiring, its portfolio, and Redfin and Rocket getting into business together. Just seeing a ton of consolidation because the margins are shrinking. We've seen MLSs consolidate, but now we're seeing an association consolidate, and it's not really more complicated than that. Our membership is slowing or plateauing. And we know that we want to continue to deliver the same level of services that we've been delivering. And in fact, we want to do more because every brokerage is having to have a really tough conversation with itself about its P&L. And they're turning to the association and saying, hey, how can you help? And I think we're in a position as the only entity in the entire real estate ecosystem that doesn't care about what its profit margin is. We're a not-for-profit. We're here to deliver service to the members. And at the end of the day, this merger is about how do we reach scale in a time of market retraction to still deliver services that we're delivering today and then go another level up. And so that's what I'm really excited about. I think it's a natural evolution of the marketplace that we're inside of. And this is an opportunity for us to truly meet that demand for our combined, what would be 37,000 members.
So I think you said it best, Justin, off air. You said we either need to figure out ways to increase our revenue or we have to increase our fee. And that leads us into one of the most asked questions, which is, will there be any cost savings or will my dues increase? And that's something that I think Marvin and Russell, you probably have heard in your own respective circles. And so what say you, Justin? What's in the plan of merger?
The plan of merger says we're going to accept the lowest amount of the two. And so in real terms, MetroTex's dues are $117 a year plus $5 for a tech fund and $5 for a building fund for a grand total of $127. I believe last I checked, that's a $21 less than CCAR has. And so we'll see a real meaningful reduction in dues for those who are CCAR members and a flat level for MetroTex. On the MLS side, at least for Q1, because we can never predict the future, but on Q1, Collin County is slightly less expensive than MetroTex. It's slightly, right? But we will accept that lower amount. So the goal is to deliver the same services, deliver more services at the same price you're paying today or slightly less.
Yeah, that's amazing.
How does that sound, Marvin? What do you think?
Love it. Absolutely. Best of both worlds.
I think that's right. We're trying to, we often are talking about this, redeveloping the value proposition of the association. And I know you guys have been in the brokerage space and in leadership positions in the brokerage space for a long time. And I know, 20 years ago, brokers really didn't want the association in their business as much. Like, don't affect my business model. Don't touch that. Don't do anything else. But fast forward, where you guys are having to redevelop what you are offering to your agents at the same time, because profit margins are so thin in traditional brokerage. And I think those are the conversations that we're consistently having. So to Justin's point, people are coming to us and saying, hey, we've got forewarn on our budget. Is that something that you guys would look into taking on so we can take that off our P&L? And so that was one of the things when Justin came on board. Gosh, Justin, it's now been, what is that? 16 months, feels like 72 years. But I looked at him and I said, we're getting forewarned. And he's like, really? Forewarned? You really think that's what we're looking at? But it's our buying power. Even as MetroTex today, we're at almost 27,000 subscribers. And when you're talking about trying to go and get the best possible deal per subscriber for technology and different services, we have that. So then to be a combined almost 37,000, we have more buying power than most of the brokerages in the entire world in that capacity. So I think it's great, Justin. I'd love to bring up the increased benefits that we will get from that merger. And then Marvin and Russell, I would love for you guys to kind of talk about your own experiences from the Collin County side and the MetroTex side, and what you really think is going to be a huge benefit and a real add to the average member and realtor that's really watching this right now. So as we get that queued up, I know, Marvin, you are a past president of CCAR, and one of the great benefits that our members are really excited about is your complimentary continuing education. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that looks like on the Collin County side while we're waiting for that graphic?
Sure. So one of the great things we do at CCAR is we offer complimentary CE for mandatory CE classes in person at Collin County, no cost to our members. Our members love it, and it's a great opportunity for them to get that credit, again, at no cost. Big popular thing that we offer.
So that's in person.
Yes.
And to keep up with you guys and to do something slightly different, we actually unveiled Realty, which is our on-demand platform, which is in the lower right-hand corner for people that are looking at this slide. And that's an on-demand virtual campus. And so we already knew you guys were doing great things on the in-person continuing ed. And so we wanted to be able to do the same. And so by being stronger together, we now have the in-person opportunities for the continuing education, the mandatory for licensing and everything else through the merger with Collin County, because we're committed to doing that. It's been such a great benefit for your members. And now for those that prefer an on-demand self-paced in a virtual aspect, we're going to have on-demand complimentary to the Collin County and MetroTex members as well. And that's something that I think is right out of the gate, regardless if you're somebody that utilizes technology or other things. This touches every single member of both organizations. And that is super exciting. Russell, what about you? Looking at these benefits that we've been able to roll out, both at MetroTex, but looking at the combined efforts, what's something that that your agents have been really excited about having at their fingertips?
Yeah, so you kind of touched on the forewarn product that MetroTex has. And I will be very honest, I moved my entire office from Collin County to MetroTex because of this offering. This is a super huge plus. And I know that members of MetroTex have been telling me, I can't believe we finally got this. This is awesome. This is the best thing that MetroTex has ever done. However, I want to mention this, and I know Marvin is also. Both of us are members of both Collin County and MetroTex. And Collin County has a great product too that they rolled out soon after MetroTex rolled out Forewarn, which is Tether. And if you've never used Tether, which I know a lot of the MetroTex people have not, it is even more in depth as far as safety precautions that can be taken for agents showing properties or holding open houses in their listings. So that is that the fact that all members of both associations after the merger will have access to both of these products is unheard of when only 6 months ago, 8 months ago, we had access to neither product. So, I mean, this is, like Justin said, buying power 101, right? The other thing is CREXI. If any of you work in the commercial space, you know how expensive it is to list or even work on the buying side of a commercial lease or sale. CREXI is basically the place where we all go to look for commercial properties, or it's kind of like our commercial MLS. The fact that MetroTex will be able to offer this to all of their members after the merger at the price that we get it for is insane. It is super expensive, and I know that because of buying power, MetroTex has a negotiated price for all of the members to be able to use CREXI. Those are two things right there that I'm just ecstatic about. And I will mention something else because I don't know that we're going to get to this in a question, but being a broker, and Marvin being a broker also, it's really difficult for us to have a set group of procedures with each association. And I say that because when I have somebody that joins my brokerage, I say, you can be a member of any brokerage you want to out there. I mean, any association you want to out there. Brokerage, association of choice doesn't really matter. But when I do bring somebody on, I have to do certain things with Collin County that I don't with MetroTex. I have to do certain things with MetroTex that I don't with Collin County. For me as a broker, just the fact that I will have one set of rules is worth the price of admission right here. It is so wonderful to know that I have the same people, the same staff that worked with me over here on one side to work with me over here on another side, and to bring it all together and have all the good parts of what worked on this hand that work on this hand is a godsend. Because I can't tell you how many times we've, because of procedures or whatever, forgotten to transfer a listing, or didn't tell an association when an agent inactivated their license, or didn't remember that the fees are $8 more over here or $12 more over here. It's mind-boggling if you're not on the brokerage side of this to have to go through that with a bunch of different associations. So the majority of North Texas being under the same policies and procedures and the way everything works is going to be the best. And I love all the benefits, but for me, just the simpleton that I am, it's going to be so much better to have the best of both worlds, to be able to know what I'm doing at every minute.
Thank you, Russell. And that teed up Justin really beautifully, because I think that's something else that we've heard a lot, right? Is the membership experience, whether it's onboarding or transferring, or somebody didn't pay something, so their membership lapsed and now they've got services cut off. And Justin, that's been something that unfortunately has been a pain point at our association, because we've seen a lot of growth and scale over the past several years. So let's touch on that a little bit, because I know that's a huge point for our people that are operating the brokerage at the brokerage level, and also the members.
Yeah, so there's the base processes that we as associations live under. Most of that came through a set of model bylaws and policies that came from NAR 50 years ago, right? And we've been working under those processes really ever since. That's the NAR dues formula, the three-way agreement, et cetera. But over time, our organizations have layered processes on to try to navigate that complexity and ensure a consistent and fair outcome for all of our brokerages and members that are involved. So like, if you don't pay your bill by a certain day, you get suspended. And then if you still don't pay, then you get terminated. And if you still don't pay, then at some point the broker gets impacted, right? But how we navigate each of those steps is unique at each association. And I know for MetroTex, again, as we mentioned earlier, our membership grew by like 50%. We went from like 16,000 to 25,000 in like 4 years. Yep, but we were still using the processes from when we were 12,000 members or 8,000 members, right? And the same is very true with Collin County, although they've done their own processes to build on top of that. But what we all know is, regardless of where you sit today, most of those processes are incredibly manual. They require a staff person to read something, to put information in, to pick up the phone and call somebody to collect payment. And it's not always the easiest to get somebody on the phone to pay you over the phone so then you can turn on their services. So we're super excited when MetroTex, and thank you to our board of directors for giving us the resource. We are going to be launching a fully automated membership experience on August 25th. Hopefully, knock on wood, that we're going to hit that date. But on August 25th, we'll be adopting a platform called Tangelo, which is the same platform used by the Austin Board of Realtors and by Texas Realtors now, who've adopted that platform. And it's going to allow a member to access their membership record at any time of day, whether our staff are working or not. It's going to allow them to join and pay and activate their services on a Saturday or a Sunday or at 12:01 a.m. at night. And really, from the second they pay, they'll be live in the MLS in 30 seconds.
That's amazing, Justin. Like, seriously, I can't hard press on that enough. I mean, the three of us have been in the practicing space for multiple decades, and I can't tell you how many times, like, I would sit there, and I've had agents in my office that they didn't know what would happen, and it's on a Saturday, and they have to go try to open a lockbox, And unfortunately, a slew of unfortunate events happened, and their e-key is no longer active, and that's crippling. And then to know, like, the association doesn't work 7 days a week, and in fact, Justin, we've laughed about this, right? The association hours are really opposite of the practitioner hours, right?
Yeah,
So
it's like when are your agents busiest, Marvin? I mean,
Yeah, nights and weekends, evenings
right?
and weekends. Yeah,
No.
exactly.
So I think that's what's so amazing is the fact that, we've been criticized for a slightly more clunky, membership experience and not being able to expedite that. And we heard that was before the merger. I mean, we knew that was something when Justin came on board, that was one of the top priorities, from just, if we can at a base level offer a more intuitive experience on the onboarding side and on that membership level side, it doesn't matter all the great things that we do. We got to get really good at that one core system. And so working towards this, and it's no feat. I mean, our staff is having to do a lot of work on the back end. So on top of, converting our AMS, which is our association management system, then we said, hey, cool, let's do that. And let's do the largest local merger in US history all at the same time. Justin, how's that been?
been great, Ashley. My favorite line in my job description, and I know that Marvin and Russell have both been through evaluating executives in their various roles and help work on job descriptions for various executives. Marvin recently served on the search for our new Texas Realtor CEO. Weren't you on that, Marvin? Yeah, you were.
Yes, absolutely.
My favorite line in my job description is other duties as assigned.
And you've done a great job leading the helm. And that's what I'm so proud of on both sides, the Collin County and MetroTex, because staff has come up a lot. And I think that's something else that we'll just touch on really briefly, is the fact that there are some amazing staff on both sides of the organizations. And people have been, rightfully so, very loyal and very passionate to make sure that those things are happening. Because a lot of times when you are seeing mergers, there's duplicated roles and staff members and everything else. And so that's been something that I know has been really passionate. Justin, will you just touch on what's in the plan of merger? And then I'd also love to hear Marvin and Russell, because you guys have been a part of these organizations for so long. So what's in the plan of merger regarding the staff?
Yeah, the plan of merger is that all the staff will stay on board, both at Collin County and MetroTex. Mary Leidy, the CEO for Collin County Area Realtors, will stay on in a C-suite role, a chief role. She'll be running one of the business units inside the company. And, we're really excited. People have asked, in a merger, you always reduce overhead. And I'm like, well, there's two things that aren't going to happen here. One, we don't need to reduce overhead, because at the end of the day, we're about delivering value to our members. We're not looking for a particular profit margin. And two, we're actually going to need everybody. The reality is, to serve a marketplace as big as this, with members both inside and well outside of our current jurisdiction. MetroTex has 100 members in Waco, for goodness sakes, right? We're going to have to figure out how to serve that broad marketplace, and we can only do that with everybody that's on the team. So we're super excited about it.
Marvin, touch on that a little bit. I know specifically on the Collin County side, because MetroTex will be the surviving entity as far as in name, right? I mean, part of this merger is that we're getting to architect the future of what this realtor organization looks like with combined forces, but it still is kind of sticking, right? That it's MetroTex and not Collin County. So talk about that a little bit, and maybe, what those concerns are, but ensuring people the excitement, what's on the other side of this.
Sure. Both of these organizations, by the way, Britt Fair, great comment there. Two great staffs, in these organizations. But our Collin County staff is fantastic. We're excited that all of them are going to have a role in the new organization. And this is collaboration. This is MetroTex staff bringing some things to the table. This is Collin County staff bringing some things to the table. This is better together, truly stronger as we collaborate with those combined staff members.
No, it's amazing. And Russell, what say you? Hey, Russell, there's a little secret on the streets that maybe you came to MetroTex by way of another maybe highly caustic merger back in the day.
Yeah.
So maybe you could talk about what that looked like in your pathway to becoming a MetroTex president.
Yes. So a lot of people forget that once upon a time, and this was over 20 years ago, there was a little association in Northeast Tarrant County, Grapevine, Colleyville, Southlake area, HEB, that that merged with the Greater Dallas Association of Realtors. And I was a member of the Northeast Tarrant County Association, and there were all of these questions too. The same things happened then, you know, who's going to lose their job? How is it going to be better? How is it going to be worse? Will we lose our identity? All of these things happened the exact same way as this one. And I will tell you, I looked at it as an opportunity. I think a lot of people did, especially in the Northeast Tarrant County side, because we could see the writing on the wall. We were a very small association. We had large associations around us, including the other ones that are in our area here, not just Greater Dallas. And at the end of the day, it came down to what's best for the members, not what's best for me, Russell Berry, as being a potential leader, or not what's best for this committee who may be having a project that they wanted to do or they do well or whatever. At the end of the day, it came down to what's best for the members. And so I've taken that, you know, with me the entire journey for my leadership. Like I said, I looked at this like an opportunity. It's a new place. It's new people. We still have a service center over in the Colleyville area, Southlake area, that services that area. We still have people that are involved. It worked out exactly like they told us it was going to. There were no broken promises. You know, that people were warning us, you know, trying to fear monger us into, no, this isn't a good thing. You need to keep your identity. Everything, I will say, for that merger has turned out perfectly. One of the things I will bring up, because we were talking about staff, is, and this happened back then too, we always had our favorite, right? Like, it's not so much our favorite, but the person who we have made that relationship with that can help us. And I have my people over at Collin County, and I have my people over at MetroTex. And I'm so excited that they're going to get to work together. That's the one thing, because I've often wanted to say, well, why can't you do it more like the other association? Or maybe this is a good idea. That's not my job. That's not my position, right? But I know Marvin is shaking his head. He has the exact same thing. We know who we can go to kind of, you know, make everything happen. I am so excited about Tangela. Is we don't need to do that anymore. We will all be in charge of the membership experience. We will all be in charge of the staff liaisons and the people that we have that help us out with our advisory groups or committees or whatever we want to call them. I'm going to say this too, is super excited to have certain things happen. Like I think many people at MetroTex knows that the professional development department is award winning. Every year at Texas Realtors, a program is awarded the best educational program in the state. And last year, Collin County had the best educator in the state.
Yep.
Can you imagine bringing those together? Another example, a few years ago, MetroTex won an award for the best government affairs department. Last year, Collin County won the award for the best government affairs department. Can you imagine that government affairs department now? Unstoppable. So super excited that the staff will be able to help with each other get better, you know, kind of like iron sharpens iron. I am lucky, and I know Marvin is too, to be a member of both associations. But when we're a member of the one association that is leading the way in the state of Texas and around the country, it's going to be infinitely better.
No, that's amazing. And we brought up this heat map. I will put one thing anecdotally on top of this. Thanks, Missy. I think it's going to be great too. One thing I'll put on that, Real Talk might have won Innovative Program of the Year, I think, in 2021, Russell. So you guys are on that too. And again, you're absolutely right. We're taking the best parts of both organizations and the innovation and the professional development and the advocacy portion, and we're doing better things, stronger together. And so this heat map, Justin, this isn't like one of those radiology blobs or whatever, and we're trying to see if we don't have kidney stones. What is this?
Yeah, before I jump into that, actually, I do want to touch on something Russell said about the staff and about the merger with Northeast Tarrant. People don't realize, some of MetroTex's longest serving staff came from that merger. So Kathy Faulkner, our VP of MLS and Member Services, probably the most recognizable figure in all of brokerage in North Texas. Everybody knows Kathy, right? You don't want to get an email from Kathy. It usually isn't a good thing. But she came from Northeast Tarrant County. She's got over 30 years now in the Realtor organization and been a huge part of our organization. Claire Shahzad, who was the CEO at Northeast Tarrant County, served with MetroTex until her retirement. Jason Hart, who was the director of IT and became MetroTex's director of IT for many years. I mean, those teams intermeshed, and not only did they flourish, they rose to be significant leaders within the organization. And
Bill
so
Head is still here. Bill Head.
Bill's still here. And so I think this is a great opportunity to bring that talent. And you didn't mention Jess Barker in particular, Russell, but Jess Barker, the director of professional development for CCAR, I believe just won again the second time in the last 3 years the professional development staff person of the year at NAR. So it's an incredible blending. And really what you see on the screen is also a blending happening. The truth is our memberships are already blended. This merger is about just making that a fact. Today, when you look at on the left where Collin County area realtors are, that's a heat map of where their members live, which is heavily up the I-75 and tollway corridors. But you look at where the green is. There are Fort Worth members that are Collin County area realtor members that live in Fort Worth, that live in Burleson, that live in DeSoto, that live in Forney, that live in Greenville. They're all over. And then when you look at MetroTex, you see the same, just a slightly different heat distribution, right? You see our, I sound a bit like a steak chef, the warm red center in Northeast Tarrant County, or the hot red or cold red center in Dallas, where MetroTex is dense. But when you combine these two, this is what you start to see. It's like it really becomes a dominant force in the Metroplex and a coverage of the entire marketplace. We have a responsibility, if this merger goes through, to serve nearly 1,800 members that live in the city of Fort Worth, to serve the nearly 500 members that live in Waxahachie and Ellis County, to serve the 2,000, 2,500 combined members who live in McKinney or Frisco. And in fact, Denton County there's a massive number of both of our members that live in Denton County, a number that would probably surprise people that know that there's an association in Denton County. So the data suggests, and if you look at the Colony, or you look at Saxe, or you look at Richardson, or you look at Little Elm.
There you
Keep
go.
trying.
One of the
Elm.
I can't keep all it's not Deep Ellum. I can't keep all the elms straight. Anyway, we have the exact same number of members. We're split right down the middle. So point of fact, from a brokerage and a membership perspective, there is no difference, except that we've created this artificial boundary of association membership.
And I think that's what we have to talk about. I've been really passionate about somebody who's an active practitioner, an association leader, an immediate past president of MetroTex. And what I will tell you is, being second generation realtor, and my mom got into the business and she was in Rockwall, and you really stayed in your lane, right? I mean, geographical competency was a huge thing. And so, she really served that major little nucleus of the Rockwall Rowlett and getting into Garland, because you stayed in your geographical boundaries. And now, especially since COVID, we have to serve our referral base in our marketplace. We still have to be geographically competent, but with all the research and the capability that we can actually become competent and proficient in the different areas with the different tools and automation and research capabilities that we have to be cognizant that our agents, your agents, Marvin and Russell, are spreading out what their geographical territory is. And so an agent might live in Little Elm, but they're still working in Dallas proper. And that's okay, because you know what? They probably decided to buy in Little Elm because they could buy 4,000 square feet for $450,000 6 years ago, but they're still going to serve their population, because realtors are moving just like the ownership is, into slightly more affordable areas, different type of lifestyles, and all of those things. And so I think we have to just be honest with ourselves that the geographical boundary lines, to your point, Justin, are really artificial at this point. That still doesn't mean that I need to go and conduct business in Paris, Texas. But it does mean that I can conduct business in Waxahachie, and I can conduct business in some of these other areas, and also gain really great referral partners within my membership, because now we're being served all over the place. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, Marvin, do you have a sense, from your brokerage, like what area is your company covering? I mean, when you think about where your agents are serving, I mean, you've got an office in South Lake, you got one in Plano, but what does your service territory look like in your agent's perspective?
Really, it's the Metroplex. It's the entire Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And we have to think about those times that maybe we have a super key box that's malfunctioning. Do we need to drive 20 miles from listing to the Collin County office or to the MetroTex office? Under the new scenario, we'll be able to go to the closest MetroTex office. It's much more relevant. It makes a difference in the everyday business of our members. So it's very, very relevant.
We love that. What about Russell? What are you seeing as far as your members go, or your agents?
Yes, so I'm glad you brought that up, Justin, because and I know Ashley has the same answer, but my office is in Collin County. My primary office, the office I go to every single day, is in Collin County. My agents are all over the Metroplex. And I have agents in Tarrant County, in Hood County, in Navarro County. I have agents up in Collin County a lot, Denton County. They're all over the place, and they service pretty much, and I see this question up here about our MLS reaching out to all the colors on the map. Our MLS already does. And
Yes.
The reason people are members of our MLS is to service that area. I will say this too. Marvin might remember this. Some of you youngsters may not. But there was a time when we had many different MLSs in North Texas. And that was one of the reasons for the many different associations. Each association had their own MLS. And in order for you to work in that area, you had to belong to that association. That is no longer the case. And it hasn't been the case for 25 years now, actually. But the association kind of hung on because of the way our MLS model is developed to kind of still have that geographic area as part of their area. That is no longer needed. And so that's why when you ask about where the agents work where the business is in North Texas. As long as they're competent and they understand and they have a car and they can drive, they can get to that area and they can write a contract. They can use their lock boxes. They can write offers. They are pretty much geographically competent as long as they have all of the information in front of them. Now, what you were alluding to, Ashley, if they go to another area and work in that other area, maybe not so much, because then they'd have to join that association. They'd have to learn about their, what's going on in that market, which is right now crazy, right? Like we can't even say that it's not a nut house right now out in the market, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about driving across town. Truly, it's driving across town. And
Yeah.
I'll tell this other little story. I did most of my business. Remember, I'm from Northeast Tarrant County in the Grapevine, Colleyville, South Lake, HEB area. At one point, I would not cross the Trinity River for fear that agents like Marvin Jolly would be all over me like I didn't know what I was doing. And quite frankly, I didn't know what I was doing.
You didn't. That's right.
Condo in downtown Dallas? No, that didn't happen. But that's all changed now. All of our agents are everywhere, and they have that information at their fingertips. So the portion about our MLS touching all of this different areas is we have that information, and it does touch where our members are, and the members expect to be able to use their super box or to stop at a service center to be able to take a call or, whatever it is. They expect that, and not having to join 2 or 3, or I think Marvin's up to 12 or 15 associations, and I'm only at like 5 or 7. But, many of us have had to do that because that's where our agents are.
Well, and
Go ahead. I was just going to touch on what Adam was saying. Netra serves further than that, and that the merger ensures more services to other areas. Waco's a part of our service, capacity now. And Justin, how many members do we have from Waco that are now MetroTex members?
Yeah, it's over 100 now at current count. Yep.
That's absolutely amazing. So I was stopping you on that one. What were you going to add?
One of the things I wanted to ask Marvin as a broker that has to deal with, because yes, the MLS is consolidated, but because of the way we're set up as shareholders of Netris, there are things that we do locally at the association level. So support on the MLS, training around the MLS, and compliance on the MLS. As a broker who has to deal with, yes, we all have one set of rules, but we know those rules are enforced slightly differently at every association. I mean, how does that impact your business?
Well, it makes it better with the merger because we have a single point of contact for a larger group of our members, better for brokers, and then ultimately better for agents with that single point of contact through the new MetroTex, for sure.
Well, and I'll give you an example. We had about a year ago, we had an agent list a piece of property in a part of the jurisdiction that is not part of MetroTex's jurisdiction, but it was in the Netris footprint. And they listed that house for sale and listed it in a city that it was not in. Now, visually, you would have thought it was in that city, and it was in the school district that you would expect to be in that city, but it was not in that city, which means it had a different tax rate and all that. But from a marketing perspective, you wanted it to be in that city. So the seller wanted it in that city, even though the data said it needed to be in the other city. MetroTex told that agent, you can't do that. You have to list it in the city where it's on the tax rolls because that's what's fair and honest and what yada, yada, yada. Another Netris shareholder enforced that rule differently and was going to allow them to list it in the city that people thought it was in. And that led to that listing agent losing the listing, right? Because they were our member and not the other member. And so it's an example where you can have yes, we all play by the same set of rules, but the enforcement of those rules can be uneven. And that's not to say that we all don't have different forces that work against us. It's not even meant to be critical of the other shareholder, just to identify that the more consolidation we have of being consistent in the marketplace drives really much better outcomes for our agent and brokers.
Great point.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about something else, which is, I think we're getting a little feedback there, but apologize, guys. So stronger together locally, but also at the state and national levels as well. And truly, who doesn't want a bigger seat at those tables? That might be my wonderful broker that just chimed in, and also mother and business partner. But she's right. We're having a lot of these conversations. Even initially, when we decided to get actively more involved at the association level, we were having strategic conversations like, how is this going to make us more money? What does this look like? Specifically me wanting to go through this leadership journey. And all I kept on saying was, I know anything that touches our business, I need to have a voice and I need to be able to see what that impact is, because ultimately that is what's going to create sustainability and profitability for agents alike and our services. And so, I think that's kind of important to touch. We've got, about 15 minutes left. And I do want to talk about that from an advocacy portion and from the real estate industry is under massive change and scrutiny on a daily basis. I think we've seen a couple more lawsuits get filed even in the last 24 hours. So what does that mean by being, I think, Justin, is it correct that we will potentially be the third largest local association in the country?
Yes, we think we will be.
We think we will be, and subsequently larger than most of the state organizations throughout the country.
And if I could just note, Ashley, we also think that it wouldn't take that much more for us to pass Houston. And God, I would just love nothing.
We love Houston. We love Houston.
Yeah, so be careful. Marvin and I belong to Houston too.
That's okay.
No, that's okay. But at the same time, what that does, and we've all seen it, DFW is the marketplace in the country, right? I mean, for both commercial and residential and everything that's going on. And so when you talk about having such a fractured marketplace and it being one of the most important real estate marketplaces in the country, really having that strength behind our numbers, both on the advocacy, the policy, and just honestly affecting appropriate change into the real estate industry, being nearly 40,000 members strong at the local level is exceptionally powerful. And I think we need to touch on that a little bit. I mean, again, we've got two past state chairmen sitting on this with us as well. And so, maybe Russell, touch on that a little bit. What that means as far as being a positive influence and impacting both maybe on the advocacy level and just industry relations by us being larger and stronger together.
Yeah, I'll start with a little bit of why I got into association business in the first place is when I was with a large brokerage, I had a lot of support. I could kind of go to my broker or go to the company I was with and ask any question, and everything was great, and I would get a good answer because they were involved in the association business. But when I became my own broker, I felt like I was on an island. I didn't really have anybody that could help me, could answer those questions, could be that resource for me. So I said, well, let me go to one of these meetings. I'll see if there's anything for me here. And the sense of community I got by being involved with my local association really helped propel my career, because I had those people that I could talk to. I had those right answers. I had the in on what an association is. And I could imagine there's people tuning in today that don't even know why they belong to an association. And that's okay. That's okay, because not everybody needs to be as uber involved as Ashley, Marvin, or myself, right? But at the end of the day, there are benefits of being involved and being part of an association. And that's why we have this. I think many people realize they don't have to belong to an association. They don't have to belong to the National Association of Realtors. This is a choice, although some people may feel like it's a choice that's made for them or whatever. But if you're providing the benefits, as we're talking about right now, if you're providing the support, if you're providing the good customer service experience, if you have all of those things that people want to be part of your association, then you're doing things right. And you touched on this, Ashley, is, for years we almost didn't need to, because there was you had to do certain things, and this was part of your livelihood or whatever. But now that things are combining, now that we're having these things touch us from every angle, maybe in lawsuit ways or threatening our livelihood, it is more important than ever that we as an association provide those benefits, those things that for our members that make them want to walk in these doors. That is what you just touched on with the advocacy part. Advocacy, I think, is one of the things we do exceptionally well on every level. And I will just say on Collin County and MetroTex level, it is better than anywhere in the state. We have those relationships with our lawmakers. We set policy. We help defeat bad real estate policy. And we can see that all around us. That is something that is a tangible thing, that is a member benefit that I think sometimes we take for granted. The education. Oh my gosh. Like I mentioned, the Educator of the Year from Collin County, MetroTex has had many Educators of the Year, many award-winning programs like this Real Talk right here. Another tangible benefit that people can hang their hat on and say, I am a member of an association that provides for my needs. Everything else we do is really just there for the membership. And as long as people take advantage of that, they will understand the benefits. So I'm not even going to point out any other thing other than to say, I am proud to be a member of both Collin County and MetroTex, but I'm even more proud that this is happening now and that we have a chance for all of us to be better. Because if we're not, we go down the drain like other membership associations have in the past.
So 2 things, and then we are going to touch on something that's really important, and that's what's next and how do we vote for this? Because I think that's what our listeners also need to understand. But Christy Smith Wages put an amazing comment, and as an FPC, which is a federal political coordinator for Congressman Gooden in rural East Texas town, it's been wonderful getting to know the members and leadership at MetroTex in North Texas. You guys will be a force. I'm excited. I'm a secondary member to MetroTex and love having the professional help when I reach out. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Christy, for doing that. And we appreciate your service. And I too have gotten a great kick out of getting to know you better. And then, of course, we have Jennifer Parker, who is the current president of Collin County. Our combined membership gives us more leverage to defend property rights, promote home ownership, and protect your profession. I've had the privilege of watching CCAR's Tree Pack and Government Affairs Committee grow. As our member participation has expanded, so has our impact. Imagine the voice we will have as a unified association. And you are absolutely right, Jennifer. And we're really excited for that impact to continue to grow. So with 10 minutes left, I do want to talk about the nuts and bolts of where we are, Justin. So maybe can we go into leaving our listeners with timelines, how we got there, and then the proxy vote, because that's a really important portion that we're getting is how do we vote for this? What happens if we can't go in person on July 23rd? So let's start talking about that infrastructure.
Yeah, I'll start with some of the timeline that got us here, right? And so I've used the analogy of buying a house. It's something that everybody in this chat can understand and get familiarity with. And so back in early or late March, our boards of directors made a decision to go under contract on a house. That house being the merger. And then we went into the option period. And for the last 60 days, we've been in the option period. We did the home inspection, we did the appraisal. We did all of that in the option period because our appraiser worked really fast and we were able to do it in the option period. So we did due diligence, right? We looked at the financials of both organizations. We looked at the legal position of both associations. We made sure that we understood everything about each other. And then a few days ago, last Thursday, our boards of directors said, okay, we've reviewed the inspection report. We've reviewed the punch list. We've reviewed the list of repairs. We're satisfied and we're ready to move forward in the deal. And so they voted to not execute, right, the exit on the option period and to stay in the deal. And now it's in front of the members, both of our members, our combined members, who will vote separately. Collin County members will vote for Collin County and MetroTex members will vote for MetroTex. I'll note, if you're a member of both, like Marvin and Russell, this is one of the rare circumstances where you do get to vote twice. You get to vote for both in both associations because you have membership rights in both. But both memberships will vote to decide if they want to be in the house together, right? And then if they do, then we'll identify a closing date and we'll close together. But that's where we sit right now. And so now we are at the time to begin the vote. Today, you're going to get an email that tells you, yeah, we've been going through a list.
The underwriters, Alicia.
That's right. Today, you're going to get an email that tells you what to expect about voting. And we're going to be utilizing a proxy voting system. We wanted to make sure that every member would have a voice, whether they could show up on July 23rd or not. July 23rd is going to be the date of the membership vote. That'll be noticed today. But we're going to use the proxy system. So tomorrow, every member of both associations that has the right to vote, which is all realtor members, both primary and secondary, will get an email from a company called Association Voting, and they'll have the ability to vote through a proxy online. That process will allow everybody that wants to vote to be able to vote and to have their vote counted. And the analogy would be like when you're looking at the polls at 7:01 p.m. on election day, right? When for those who were paying attention, we had Bill Cox running for mayor in McKinney, CCAR board member, and we had Bill Roth, past president of MetroTex, running for Dallas City Council. On election night, this was Justin. Refresh. And the second 7:01 hit, all those absentee ballots popped in, right? Or the early vote ballots popped in, and you're like, oh. Now then we waited for the election night returns to come in. It'll work the same way here. The proxy votes will be voting for the next 3 weeks. On the day of the 23rd, we'll hit refresh and we'll have those early votes in, and then we'll take the vote of the people who are in the room. And then ultimately it requires 2/3 of the voting members, those who vote, to pass the resolution to move forward with the merger. 2/3 MetroTex and 2/3 Collin County of those members who vote. Not 2/3 of all the members, 2/3 of the members who vote. Both of us have a quorum requirement that we have to meet, but we're not particularly concerned about those quorum requirements. We have every expectation we'll exceed them. But the Collin County is 3% and the MetroTex is 10%. But we're, again, through the proxy system, we feel very confident that we'll meet that requirement.
That's really important. Marvin, Russell, are you guys getting any questions about what that looks like, how they can vote, maybe concerns about town halls or anything else? Like, what are you guys hearing in regards to this?
Go ahead, Russell.
I'll start. I have heard only good things. Every once in a while, there'll be a question, and a very good question. I will say that. And the great thing about this process, I know that Collin County and MetroTex are committed to being as transparent as possible, answering all questions, making sure any concerns are taken care of. I know that they are putting out the merger plan they are putting out these directions, very specific directions. And I think that's going a long way to make sure that everybody understands that this is being done for all the right reasons. There is nobody that is in trouble financially. There's nobody that has to, cover something up. There's no skeletons in the closet, as Justin alluded to the audits that have been done. This is truly now up to the membership to decide whether this is a good thing or a bad thing for the membership as a whole. One thing I will point out is Justin mentioned about being at the meeting on the 23rd. I know how realtors are, and I'm the exact same way. I have been refreshing my phone every 2 minutes so that I know when I can vote. Please vote early because you're going to forget. And if you're planning to come to the meeting, that's perfectly fine. If, from what I hear, if you vote and you wanted to change your vote at the meeting, that's fine. We will just nullify your proxy. But do it so that you don't forget. Because Marvin knows me very well. I've already forgotten about it. So make sure that if this is something, and I think every member should be interested in this. It's not something that, let the other people do it. This is for you. This is for your own benefit. And again, if you have any questions, I know that that they've kind of deputized Marvin into answering all questions. So if you have any questions, I will give you his phone number.
Not true.
His cell phone number, his personal cell phone number. No, but really go out there and do this as soon as you can so you don't forget, so that you make it a priority and you really work for your own benefit and your own association.
I think that's really important. So it hasn't just been Marvin, by the way, Russell. You have also been deputized to be on our communications team during the next 3 weeks. And so I'm going to throw that out there that both Marvin and Russell are here. So if you guys have questions and feel more comfortable going directly to another member, somebody that you've seen in the halls volunteer with other than the leadership teams of both organizations or the CEOs, like that's why we have Marvin and Russell. And we also have Amy Hansen at Collin County, and we've got Eloise Martin at MetroTex that are there to continue to answer questions and be great ambassadors to both associations. So that's really important. But Justin, I love that Russell did bring up that piece, because honestly, we should be encouraging everybody to vote by proxy, because stuff does happen. Gosh, if I get a call for a $1 million buyer on July 23rd, I'm probably going to not go. I'm probably not going to the meeting. But if you guys, cast your proxy vote before then, but still want to be a part of that in-person, democratic process, Russell's right. You can nullify your proxy. You can vote in person. And that's something else too. You can change your vote. Isn't that true, Justin? If somebody votes one way and decides to change how they vote, is that something that they can do as well?
100%. You always have the right to modify your proxy or change or revoke your proxy. You'll be able to vote by proxy until 12:01 a.m. on the morning of July 23rd. So we're shutting it off at midnight on the 22nd, because we have to get ready for the meeting, right? The meeting's at 10 a.m. if memory serves. And that meeting will begin if somebody shows up who submitted a proxy. We'll revoke that proxy in the system and then hand them a paper ballot so they can cast a paper ballot in the room. And at the end of the day, everybody gets it's one vote per person. It's your vote, your voice. And ultimately, this is a decision in the hands of our members of what they want in their association. And both boards of directors think that what is best is, and that's why they've recommended to members, is to combine forces and to drive more value for the same or less dues dollars. But that's ultimately a decision our members will have to make for themselves.
No, and I think that
one thing we didn't really touch on is the town halls. If you want to call Marvin, feel free. But there are 2 town halls for each association, July 10th and July 14th at different times, both times. So if you're a morning person, you can go to the morning one, whatever, look for more information about that. But we're also having one for just brokers. So if there are any questions, write them down. Feel free to ask. And then one other thing, we did touch on the deputizing part, which I never did get my star yet. But if you want us to come talk to your office, if you're hearing any issues or anything that's not clear, or you want us to get out in front of a group of people, whoever they are, we've got the people to do that.
Yes, we do.
We will make it happen. We'll make sure that everything is answered. Every issue is taken care of. Every point of this is going to be very, very transparent. I mean, that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that everything is answered before we jump into this marriage, because a couple of us may have been in some other ones before that may have not worked out. So.
Well, this one's going to work out beautifully. Yeah, exactly.
I would just like to clarify, Russell meant marriages that didn't work out, not mergers. He's not any mergers that didn't work out.
No, but we did put the Stronger Together website in the chat. So definitely click on that. We'll continue to update those times and dates of the different things, and check out your emails. I mean, I know we're really bad about opening our emails, but there's a lot of really exciting things going on that we actually physically get to be a part of this process. And I think that's super exciting. I know it's been a privilege to serve, you know, at all levels, but as the immediate past president of MetroTex and be a part of this now is absolutely historical. Marvin and Russell, I know you guys feel the same way, and I'm so excited to be doing this next 3 weeks of grassroots efforts to make sure that every single member is well informed. And if they're absolutely right, if you have questions, please reach out to us. I'm going to let everybody just sign off and say one last thing to leave for our viewers. Justin, let's start with you.
I think I said it earlier, you know, it really matters for our members. I think this is an opportunity not only to vote and express whether this merger is right for you and your business, but also an opportunity to decide if you want to be part of an organization that's going to push the status quo, that wants to help lead our industry into whatever is next for it. The Metroplex is one of the largest markets in the world. And it's time that we have a voice that matches that strength. And I believe that by coming together, we have the opportunity to advocate for all of our members, not just local, state, and national for the Realtor Association, but also with the policymaking bodies across the Metroplex that will determine where growth happens.
Wonderful. Marvin?
Sure. So 2 things. So focus forward, not past. Look at the future. Also, one of my favorite thoughts is, to whom much is given, much is required. And to Justin's point, we have a big responsibility in Dallas-Fort Worth. And so we need to offer the absolute best service and support to our members that we can. And we can do that better through the merger.
Amazing. Russell?
Yeah, so if you couldn't tell, I'm excited about this. We mentioned that it has been in the works for a very, very long time. And this is the right time for this. The most important thing for me is to look ahead, to see what we can do together, to really maximize our footprint and what we do for our membership. And I think I think that the no votes should be very few, because there's only so much more daylight ahead of us. You know, we can look to the past all we want to, but the future, and I think Justin set this up very well for us, the future is going to be different. And I know we all hate change. Oh, that's who we are as realtors, but we're change every day. So let's make this happen. Let's all get on board, and we are here for you if you need anything.
No, and I will say it again. And the question isn't if this trend continues in regards to consolidation. It's our understanding why and what it means for our future, and that's what we've all been talking about. The C word doesn't have to be the bad word. It can be about prosperity and growth and providing and redeveloping the value proposition of what the local realtor organization is. And I know each and every one of us on this live stream right now, the people that are commenting, the 2 amazing executive teams that have worked tirelessly to put all of this together, both Jennifer Parker, current president of CCAR, and Johnny Moad, the current president of MetroTex. There's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this. And there's been a lot of personal things that have had to be put aside for the betterment of this organization and the future of organized real estate. And I can tell you, I'm really being proud of being a part of this team. So let us know if you have any other questions. Guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to inform the public. And hopefully we will be better together on July 24th.